There are a number of things that you may want to consider when choosing an attorney. One of the things that you're going to want to think about is whether or not they have a specialized background in the area of law that your issues require. In the case of intellectual property law, you want to look at somebody who has a copyright background, possibly a trademark background. It may or may not be important for photographers to refer to somebody who also has patent background credentials. Sometimes they will come into play, but many times those credentials are very different from the types of credentials that are needed in the other areas of intellectual property law. Another thing to consider is whether or not the attorney has specific experience in your industry. If they know the field of photography, if they've been involved in editorial types of problems, if they've been involved in advertising types of problems, depending on what type or field of photography you are in. Another thing that you're going to want to think about is whether or not the attorney has litigation experience. Generally, when attorneys are doing litigation, they're going to be required to stay abreast of recent developments in the copyright law, as non-litigators will as well. But the litigators will frequently have an experience trying to enforce, argue, or protect legal issues or legal concerns that non-litigators may not address at the same level. It's important to think about whether the attorney has this type of litigation experience, because that will sometimes pose an advantage, especially if the services that are required involve an issue which is being contested by an opponent. In that case, your attorney will have a better view as to how that issue might get played out in court. That might give you an advantage in the handling of the issue as you consider how you want to approach it. Another thing to think about is whether you can establish a relationship with your attorney, prospective attorney, before you actually have a problem. You may want to think about attending professional seminars and events or association events at which an attorney is speaking. That will give you an opportunity to directly meet the attorney, find out if there's a good rapport with the attorney, determine if there's a good fit, and if the attorney is someone with whom you believe you may be able to work in the future. Then when an issue does arise, you will have already made the introduction. You and the attorney will feel comfortable having already communicated about possibly working on a future issue, and you can just deal with the matter at hand when it comes up. Another thing to consider is whether or not the attorney that you are thinking about retaining has been referred by a friend, a business, possibly a bar association or other professional organization. Keep in mind, though, that the legal matters with which attorneys deal vary greatly, and the success or lack of success in a prior matter does not necessarily indicate that you will have a like result in the matter that's being handled by your counsel. Nevertheless, it's useful to get a referral from people who have worked with the attorney, not so much to determine whether or not you're going to have a similar outcome, but whether your experience is going to be a fruitful experience and the type of experience that you feel comfortable with as you work with that counsel.